Hi, I'm Elana Heideman with Israel Forever, and we're here cooking Israel with Lisa Melamed in her beautiful kitchen here in Efrat in Gush Etzion. Lisa, tell me, what are we cooking today?
Welcome, Elana. I'm so glad you came. We are cooking Yebreh.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, I'll say it slowly. Yebreh.
Yes.
Maybe you would know it as stuffed grape leaves.
Oh, okay. Look at all these gorgeous ingredients. This is fresh grape leaves,
Okay,
no?
so these are fresh grape leaves that I picked from the garden. This is fresh garlic, fresh mint leaves, but you can use, of course, dried mint leaves, lemons, and then the rest of the ingredients that we'll need. We'll need rice, there's a little bit of chopped parsley in here, onion, olive oil, and some spices, which are basic spices, ground English pepper, which is, in America it's called allspice, in Israel it's called filter angli, and cinnamon, ground cinnamon, salt, sugar, and that's it.
Fantastic. So how do we get started?
So, it depends where you are. In America, when I used to roll grape leaves, I used to go to the store and I used to buy a jar of Orlando grape leaves, which were already brined, and all I had to do was rinse them and pick off the stems. When I first got to Israel, I couldn't find the Orlando grape leaves anywhere. And I asked everybody, how do I find grape leaves in this country? And they said, look around you. And as it turned out, the grape leaves are growing everywhere. So I just didn't understand how to get them to look like the Orlando ones in the jar. And someone explained to me, you just boil them. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to boil our grape leaves in a pot of water. So we just plop them in. We're going to add a little bit of salt. We're going to push them down into the water, and we're literally just going to let them cook for 2 minutes, and you're going to see almost immediately they're going to turn dark. So now we see they're reaching that nice color. They've been in here for about 2 minutes, and I'm going to take the pot close to the sink. You could pour it into the strainer, or you could just use your same tongs and get it. And you see how the water changed colors.
So basically, if I were buying this in a jar, this is where I'd be picking up the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you buy them in the jar, you open up the jar, you drain out all the brine, you put them in a strainer, you rinse them, and you're left exactly with this, with these leaves that are kind of this color that are beautiful, but they have this stem that you want to get rid of. What you're going to do is just with your fingernail here is just clip it off.
Okay.
Or my daughter prefers to use a scissor, but it doesn't make a difference. And what you want, you can see the two sides. This is the outer side. This is the inner side. We're going to fill the inner side and then fold them up, so the outer side is what's showing.
So, when was the first time you made this?
Okay, so my mother-in-law taught me how to make this when I got married 18 years ago. And I made it for 10 years straight in Brooklyn, the way I said, from the jar. And when we came to Israel, like I said, I was looking around for grape leaves, and that first summer that we were here was a Shemitah year, which is a sabbatical year. And one of the things about Shemitah year is you're kind of allowed to pick whatever you want from your neighbor's gardens, at least what's growing over. So we took the kids out, I took the kids out, we went all around, we picked from all the neighbors, and we came home with tons and tons of grape leaves, and we rolled Yebreh, and we served them at a kiddush that we hosted for all the nice people that had first welcomed us to Israel. We wanted to give a little bit back, and we hosted and we served Yebreh, and everybody was very much in love with it.
So you're Ashkenazi, and this is a Syrian dish, right?
So my husband is both Syrian and Persian, and when we first got married, both his mother and his father told me a lot of different grape recipes, which actually Yebreh is something I never tasted until I met my husband, and it's my favorite food.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's not like this comfort food that I grew up on, and yet it's my comfort food now. It's my go-to food. I love it.
That's great. Israeli cuisine in general is full of all sorts of eclectic varieties of food that come from all the different places that Jews come from. So it's really great that you and your family, you've kept alive that tradition.
We like it very much. So when my mother-in-law would make a holiday meal, especially Rosh Hashanah, she would make the sweet version. But if it was just another holiday, she would make the sweet version for her side of the family that would come. And for my father-in-law, who should rest in peace, really only liked the Israeli way of having Yebreh, which is very lemony, and that's the way I love it. So we're going to let the grape leaves dry, and we're going to get to the rice.
Okay. I want to remind all of our viewers, of course, that all of the ingredients and everything can be found on our website, israelforever.org.
Fantastic. The first thing we need is an onion and 2 cloves of garlic. We're going to grind them up. You could chop them by hand, really, but I like to use my little machine. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do now.
This is a very special way of making rice, right?
Yeah, this is not ordinary rice.
Okay.
For sure not.
All right.
And if you don't have a machine, that's fine. You can use a grater, or you could just chop it very finely. So this is the onion and the garlic. So now let's get to the rice.
Okay.
Just take a little oil.
Does it matter which rice we use?
I use basmati just in my life for everything. Persian would be just as fine. Really, any rice would work. All right, here, you take this, and we're gonna make our way over to the pot. And here, the oil. So we're gonna just put a little bit of olive oil. Warm it up, don't let it get too hot. Okay, so you spin it around in the pot so it covers. It's getting warm. Actually, I'm gonna start with a generous sprinkling of salt. And then I'm gonna spoon in the onions and the garlic. Alright, I'm just gonna also spin this around a little. Elana, you wanna bring me the greens?
And this is Nana, right? This
Well, this is already in here. That's
cool.
like, here. It's chopped up a little bit small. I didn't use the processor for this, I just chopped it by hand. And to this, we're gonna add the 2 spices that I mentioned before. Allspice, which in Israel is called ground English pepper or pilpul angli, but in America, very easy to find allspice. And ask me for measurements, I would say about a tablespoon of each. The second one is ground cinnamon, also very easy to find. And again, I'm just going to, with my hands, switch it around, and you get an amazing smell. You smell that?
Amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
So we traditionally make this also with meat, and it has the exact same smell. So I know we're on the right path. That's a great smell, right?
Oh, it's incredible.
Right. So one thing I didn't mention is when I used to make this in New York, we used to make it with meat and rice. Today's version is going to be just rice, but it has, minus the meat, it has all the same flavors, and it really has the same great smell. We're going to add in the rice. And the idea is for the rice to get coated by whatever oil is still there. I'm a little stricter about not using a spatula, but my husband would say it's fine. We're not exactly browning it, but we're coating it with the oil and also the flavorings. Okay,
cool.
So now I'm going to add 3 cups of water for the 2 cups of rice. Okay, and I'm going to let it boil a little before I cover it. So that's how we make the rice.
Okay. The smell is simply incredible.
It's great, right?
Wow.
Okay, so I wasn't sure how much time we would have today, so I took the liberty of preparing some rice this morning. So we can start rolling.
All right.
I'm gonna just take a spoon and mix it up a little, because I didn't do anything since
It's a bit undercooked from what you would normally cook rice, correct?
it could be. It looks like that because it's basmati. We didn't use a lot of water, and we coated it all with oil. So actually, the rice is very much cooked. It just looks. I always say like each little grain of rice is like its own little man. Everyone gets involved in rolling the Yebreh in my family. My best roller in the house is my oldest daughter, Barbara. So I've asked her to join us today to help us roll the Yebreh. So Barbara, come. We're ready for your services.
Cooking is a Jewish family tradition. So
Yeah.
is cooking Israel.
We take the leaves that have been drying, and if they're dry, they're dry. If they're not all the way dry, so just pat it gently with a paper towel and lay it flat on your surface. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a spoonful of the rice mixture, and you're going to put it in the middle of the grape leaf. And you see it goes off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides here, but in the middle it's connected. You're going to take, this is the tricky part, take the bottom right side and fold it over. Now you're going to take the bottom left side and fold it over and sort of bring it down. Now you're going to take, I call it the arm. You take the arm, you bring it over. You take the other arm and you bring it over. And now you're rolling it up like a cigar. But when you get to the part where it's flailing out, you're going to have to also keep folding it in. Folding it in and rolling it over. And at the end, it should come almost to a point. And this is how it's going to look when it's all rolled up. Everybody will do the same thing what I
An
did.
even teaspoon? Do I have to be cautious about the amounts? Like
You know what? You have a smaller leaf, so I wouldn't use such a huge big teaspoon. But
Okay, cool.
it's it's pretty forgiving. If you took too much, you could put some back.
You know, I come from a kitchen of making stuffed cabbage, you know, the old Ashkenazi Jewish tradition.
Right.
So there's always the risk of overstuffing the cabbage. Is that an issue of
If
yours?
you overstuff the grape leaf, it will pop out of a hole somewhere. And depending on how far along you are in the process, you can go back and repair the hole with a little patch, which is what my mother-in-law always taught me to do. Or every once in a while, you just have to say, you have to give up on it.
I got my first one. How did I
You
do?
did great. You did
I know you
fantastic. So I want to tell you that Yebreh is something that even Ashkenazim recognize what it is. Everyone in Israel knows what Yebreh is. And in the army, the Chayalim definitely, the soldiers definitely recognize Yebreh because that's what they eat when they're in the fields and they don't have their regular base food. They have cans of rolled grape leaves. This I think tastes a lot better, but those are also delicious.
Because everything homemade tastes better.
Right. those are also delicious.
So what makes this an Israeli dish?
Well, this is really just a Middle Eastern dish. There's it's very Middle Eastern. It's very Lebanese, in fact. I have the lemon flavor. A lot of my Lebanese friends love everything lemony. We call them Lebanese. Like I mentioned earlier, the Syrians make a sweet sauce. They use a lot of cinnamon and allspice and tamarind in the cooking. So you would be taking the same rolled grape leaves and either cooking them with the lemony sauce or with the sweet tamarind sauce.
And I've also had the Kurdish version, which I believe is made with a tomato sauce that's inside of it as well. Because that's what Middle Eastern food really is, and that's what Israeli food really is. It's a variety of flavors kind of fusing and coming together, right? Do you have a lot of that in your kitchen?
We have a lot of that in the kitchen. My husband is part Persian, part Syrian. I'm Ashkenazi. We're all American. My kids have developed Israeli tastes for foods that we never even ate in America, and the kitchen is flying. We have a lot of good things going on here.
Barbara, do you love cooking with your mom? Is it like a big part of your family dynamic?
I wouldn't say it's a big part of family dynamic, but I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. I'm already teaching my little ones to cook with me in the kitchen. So at 16 and then getting married and everything, so there's this huge gap between falling in love with Israel and coming and building your life here. How did you keep your Israel connection alive during all those years?
From my honeymoon till we made Aliyah, those 10 years were pretty busy spent just living my life. And I'll admit the Israel connection gets a little lost.
Yeah.
I always say when you go to Israel, you feel something, and it's akin to like when you're driving in the darkness and there's this crack of lightning and everything's lit up and you see the light, and then like a minute later it's dark again, and then you forget it. So I felt like for us, Israel was like always like that. We would come here, we would see it, and we'd be like, this. And then we would go back, and we'd just sort of like, as life goes, forget about it.
I just think that is absolutely reality for so many Jews around the world. That's why we at Israel Forever do what we do. We want to be able to make Israel a part of every Jewish life, every home, every heart, and every kitchen, bringing you recipes and personal stories of people who really help to make Israel alive and beyond just the news and the headlines that so often are what we know about Israel. So just to remind you, you can always come to israelforever.org, not only for the ingredients and the process that we've done today, but you can also come every day for a little bit of Israel inspiration and keep that Israel connection going wherever you might be in the world. So tell me, what's the last step? I know we have a few more steps here in the process.
Okay, for the last step, we're going to put all the grape leaves into a tin, and at this point you could freeze them. So now that we have all the grape leaves in the bin, we're going to put in between each grape leaf, and I have a bin already prepared. In between each rolled grape leaf, we're going to put just a little sliver of garlic, and I put them in the freezer, which you can definitely do to make this just an easier process. And then you just stick in wherever you can a little clove of garlic. Fresh garlic is always the best. Makes it just absolutely delicious. So what a lot of people will do is at this point, they will steam the grape leaves. They will have put actually a dot of olive oil underneath and then laid out all the grape leaves, stick in the garlic cloves, cover it with foil, and steam it. When you're making it with meat and raw rice, that's a much more important step. Since our rice is already cooked and we're not using meat, we don't really need that step, so we're gonna skip it. Now that we've got all the garlic in between the grape leaves, I have a sauce here that I've prepared with olive oil, the juice of 2 lemons, and some sugar. And you said you were going to give the exact recipe on the website.
Yeah, we've got all of it, everything on the
but
website.
it's very simple. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pour this sauce over the grape leaves, but it's not going to completely submerge them. Okay, so then we're going to add water just to cover. And we are going to cook this for a good long time.
They puff up a little when you add the water.
They puff up a little, but the rice is already cooked, so the water is important, but it's not as crucial as what I said when you cook it with raw rice. Cover it with foil, and we're going to cook it in the oven at 350 for, you ready? 3 hours.
Oh wow!
So this is like
a long process.
But it's not, because once it's in the oven, you can do whatever you want. You're done. You're done with it until you serve it. At some point, when your house starts to smell really, really delicious, you might want to come check and see if it's drying out. You might want to add a little more water.
Okay,
but that's it. I leave it and I really forget it until like if we're serving it Friday night. You know, I shut the oven before Shabbos, and then it's just in there staying hot, and it's delicious. For me, the more it cooks, the better it tastes.
Very nice. Very nice. Fantastic. So you have this on special occasions, Shabbat, or is this also a daily, regular dish that you guys have?
It's definitely not a daily dish. Maybe the ones in the can are, an ad hoc dinner. Quick, I forgot to make dinner. Let's open up a can of grape leaves. But no, the homemade grape leaves is definitely a special occasion dish or a Shabbos dish. And everybody appreciates it. My little kids, when they come in from Ghana, if they see grape leaves, they start jumping. Oh, you're making me yummy. They
so
really
exciting.
like it. It's very special and it's very
The
delicious.
Israeli cuisine in general is so healthy based. It's a lot of vegetables. It's a lot, and so this, even though it comes from generally the Middle Eastern region, this also incorporates a lot of that same mentality. It's like clean foods. Very easy to eat, finger foods, which are great for kids. And I think, if I remember correctly, there's quite a bit of nutritional value in the grape leaves as well.
I would imagine, because they're a very dark green. It took them a long time to get them to be edible, so I would imagine that there is. I don't know exactly, but for sure it's healthy. In Israel we say tivoni, which is vegan, and delicious.
Fantastic.
Okay, so maybe we were doing this today, and I thought it would be a good idea to make a little bit extra in advance. And so these are ready. And what I like to do when we have something special cooking in the house is to share a little bit of it with the soldiers that keep us safe here in Gush Etzion. So what I'd like to do with you now is take these to the soldiers who are stationed in Osgaon, which is a very special place right at the Summit HaGush, which has witnessed a ton of terror attacks. It's a forest reserve that was set up in honor of the memory of the 3 boys who were kidnapped and murdered 2 summers ago. Already next week will be the 2-year anniversary. And that hilltop was something that I was very much involved with Women in Green. The night that the boys were found, we went up to the hilltop and set it up as a memorial for the boys. And since then, it has grown and thrived and been an integral part of Gush Etzion and all of Israel. And I'm very excited to take you there and show it to you.
Amazing, a true testament to the Jewish spirit that even when we face the horrors of terror, we build. And we find a way to keep the life going. Am Yisrael Chai indeed. Thank you so much for letting us into your kitchen and for making us, open.
Should we show how it looks?
Yeah, definitely.
When they're cooked, because they really are stunning. And I think the darker the better when they get a little more, because the sugar comes out and kind of caramelizes, and then the little pieces of garlic. They're delicious.
Wonderful. Well, let's go bring it to the soldiers. And don't forget, you can come to israelforever.org for all of the ingredients and the directions to make your own Yebreh, and for everything else for your Israel inspiration, a little bit every day. So thank you again to Lisa. And what do you say? Shall we go feed the soldiers?
Let's go.
All right.
Let's wrap it up.
תודה רבה ישראל forever.